Good afternoon, and welcome to the June 19th, 2012 meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority. May we have the roll call, please?
Authority members: Friedman, Nukian, Mincy,
Here.
Barazian, Quintero,
Here.
Beaver,
Here.
Chair Najarian.
Here. May we have your report?
The agenda for the June 19, 2012 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, June 14, 2012 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item is approval of minutes.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. If there's no corrections or additions, the minutes will be approved as submitted by unanimous consent. Next item, please.
Next item is oral communication. There was, I believe, cards submitted. Discussion is limited to items, and actually only one speaker is here, Mr. Milano. The discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the Housing Authority may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision, and the matter may be referred to staff through the Executive Director for investigation and report.
Herbert Milano.
Housing Authority Chair Najarian, members of the Housing Authority, and staff, thank you. I want to address the topic that I brought back before you a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was 3 weeks ago, concerning bringing back to the Housing Authority a review of the study done 10 years ago on the status of youth in Glendale. Part of the reason why I want to bring this up is that it appears to me that for a very, very long time, the focus on youth, facilities and programs for youth tend to be relegated to either money to come from HUD, meaning not our city funds, or monies that come from HUD for CDBG, for programs that we give to nonprofits. In other words, it appears that we really don't own the problem, that somehow it's going to be solved simply by monies that come from outside the city to be able to solve it. That discrepancy is reflected physically in the distribution of parkland. And I've shown those numbers before, and I showed those graphics before. But if I were to show a bar chart with regard to the distribution per 1,000 residents, we are in recreational area planning 10, where City Hall is. We have 0.002 acres per 1,000 people. That's equivalent to about 2 parcels of land for 32,000 people. And yet, I continue to see continual buildings and condominiums that increases the population, yet we don't address it. And that is the reason why I think it is so important to be able to bring this subject up and create a plan that you can help guide and address. You know, it's incredibly disappointing to find that a trend that I see by looking at the budget. The money goes first to pensions, then to salaries, then to benefits, and whatever is left over, then we'll think maybe we'll put some money into infrastructure. So we have the staff, but we don't have the money for infrastructure. And of course, we don't invest in South Glendale for the adequate amount of parkland because you're all waiting for a grant to come from the state of California or a grant to come from the federal government to see with those grants, you then put in the money. If we don't address these youth issues, we're going to continue to have problems into 10 years, 20 years from now as these kids begin to grow up and do not have the type of resources that allow us to prevent the problem where it begins. And that is one of the reasons why, starting back in around 2003, I started promoting the strategic plans with regard to the use of the balanced scorecard. Identify the problems, create the strategic plan to solve them, create the objectives, and make sure that it becomes an inherent part of your budget. Because if it isn't, then the employer association says, let's see how much money is there for us first, and then before parkland comes in, that's the last thing you would do. And it is a fact. I've talked to council members before as to how the city unions come and talk to them and say, well, if you have enough money for a park, then you definitely have enough money for us. To what degree? To the point where there basically is no capital investment. We have $6.5 million now from the combination of some of the HUD money and the park impact fees. And then when I read that the parking fees are actually going to Machen Park and to the sports complex, you know, yes, these are nice things to have, but it doesn't address the logic of the park impact fees. The park impact fees discussion came about because of the shortage of parkland in these areas. You cannot now say, I'm going to charge the impact fees, collect the money, and then put it up north. I mean, it's crazy. And it's crazy because you don't align your strategic plan to the objectives. In 1996, we have a strategic plan for the greater downtown area. It was 16 acres. It's there, it's clear, it's on the environmental impact reports, and it's on subsequent environmental impact reports, but nothing is done. So unless you put the strategic plans and address them forcefully and adhere it, so that when the unions come to you and say, look, we want another $10 million, you say, sorry, here's a whole bunch of parkland and needs of the community that haven't been met, those have to be met. Somehow, we got to change direction. We cannot simply be, kissing up to everyone out there who wants to wield their power and not address the community needs. And that's why I'm here, to speak for all these people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I speak for some of those people, too. I think this council speaks for those people. I think we have made strides in providing recreational opportunities to our youth. We have asked for an update on that report that was done 10 years ago. So I'm going to hold my anecdotal analysis until we see exactly what sort of commitment and resources have been directed towards youth capital and youth programs, and then we can have a discussion on it. There may be a lot that I think we've done. There may be a lot that I'm not aware that we've done. So I don't know where that is on the timetable for further discussion, but I know it was about a month ago, I think, Mr. Milano raised it, and we said, let's look into it.
I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. We have it coming back after budget in July, and it really is compare and contrast. I will tell you that the newest park to come online will be in South Glendale, the Maryland Avenue Park, and for serving that neighborhood. And the council has allocated funding for the rehabilitation of the Pacific Edison Field, and of course the Pacific Pool was done only a couple of years ago in terms of a major investment in recreational opportunities in South Glendale. So the funding is being allocated and dispersed where it's needed.
So rather than just think back and say, I know there was this park and that pool, let's do a true compilation and see what direction we're moving.
Yes, sir.
In that regard.
And that will be in July.
Then we can argue with Mr. Milano, but I'm going to hold my remarks until that time, until we have some evidence one way or the other. I have no other cards. And the next item, please.
On the business agenda at 6A is Director of Community Development regarding reauthorization of services related to 2012-13 housing program budget in support of affordable housing activities. At A1 is a motion to approve a reauthorization of service for the professional services agreement with Kane Ballmer Berkman C104942 in the amount of $50,000 for a new not-to-exceed contract total of $230,000 and to extend the contract term to end June 30th, 2013. A2 is the resolution appropriating $50,000 in home funds to provide funds for the professional services agreement.
Mr. Ochoa?
Yes, sir. This, as the title indicates, what we're looking at is retaining KBB for an additional year, and also in reflection of the amount of work, the 3 projects that we have in pre-development, increasing that not-to-exceed amount to supplement all of the work that happens through our city attorney's office. We have carried this forward at $180,000. The additional $50,000, as was mentioned in the title of the report, is coming from an appropriation of home funds which are available to you. At this point, if you have questions about the performance of the attorneys, I would defer to the city attorney, or on the projects, I would defer to our Deputy Director of Housing, Peter Zovak.
Okay, I don't have any cards. Are there any questions about this firm? Their retention?
Well, I was glad to see this last year that quite a bit of money was saved in office by the city attorneys. But this is an excellent, we've been with this firm for many years, and they've done a good job. We're in a particularly difficult time right now, and I think as long as I'm talking, maybe I'll go ahead and move
As long as,
A1 and 2.
as long as that microphone is warm.
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. If there's no other requests to speak or discussion, roll call.
Authority members Friedman, Menuchyan, Mincy,
Yes.
Barazian, Quintero,
Yes.
Beaver,
Aye.
Chair Najarian.
Yes. Thank you. Next item.
Next item on the agenda is any authority member or staff comments.
Any
My mic is
comments?
still hot, so I'll
Mr. Mincy.
several of us attended the Habitat for Humanity opening on Saturday. This is the 7th project that the Housing Authority and Habitat have put together. This is, I don't know if you can see this, but it's a lovely picture of the 5 different families have new homes. There were hundreds of people there. And this shows you 2 of the families. It's just amazing to look in their eyes and see how happy they are and relieved that they have accomplished what they have, not only in sweat equity, but they have to qualify credit-wise and income to be able to afford what they do pay in mortgage payments. As I say, a lot of us were there. Mr. Weaver's canine constant companion was there and was very quiet and sat nicely, and so did the dog. I waited till that joke all day.
He's been working on that line.
But I do want to make one comment. The people that normally are unhappy with what the council is doing, is what the housing authority is doing, never attend these events. And some of the comments are excellent and should be looked at. But still, it's important to attend events that are really helpful to the city and that show what's being done. In this case, the authority gave the land so this could be built. And it really affects not only in the community, but also the property values around there. So I urge you, all of you, to attend these things when you hear about them. Thank you.
Thank you.
You said 9 projects. I think it's 7. Is it 7?
You're right, it's 7, isn't it?
Yeah, 7 projects
I'm
that
sorry.
we've done with Habitat.
Inflation got in there.
Yeah, with Habitat for Humanity. All of them are still obviously existing. And what I find so interesting is that so many of the people that have gotten these units, work for these units, come to work on the next units. So we literally have this workforce, in addition to the volunteers from Disney and DreamWorks and everywhere else, Bordeaux's. Then we also have the actual inhabitants of the Habitat for Humanity projects that come back to work. They don't have to, but they do. That's how happy they are with their homes. And so anyway, it was a great event.
No, it took an hour and a half to get through everybody there that had to be congratulated for what they did. Big effort by the community.
Any staff comments? If not, we have no new business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned.
Okay, we will